Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a team centered around my Rank 2 XL Shadow Kanto Grimer that helped me reach Expert rank in Season 20 of Go Battle League. I was bouncing around the low 2700, upper 2600s for quite a few days, ended up dropping to about 2650, and then this team, I got the last 100 points with. The team is centered around the Shadow Kanto Grimer safe switch. It has Mud Slap, which received a double buff this season, and the team honestly worked due to the surprise factor of people not knowing what a Shadow Kanto Grimer is or what moves it has. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and we pick up a terrible lead in the first match, Pangoro versus Clodsire. The safe switch to the Shadow Kanto Grimer, and the opponent does not switch out. Either they're core broken or they felt like they had to stay in because they weren't really sure what to do against Kanto Grimer. And this can be the benefit of throwing something at leaderboard players that they haven't seen before. Is a lot of the times if you safe switch a known Pokemon like versus a Shadow Feraligatr, every single player will have an ironclad response for how they want to play it out with their team. Because if you don't, you're just going to lose to Feraligatr safe switches. But with Kanto Grimer, people don't really know what it is or what it has, and it can cause some indecision. And that can generate an advantage. Like here in this game, opponent was actually running an Azumarill plus Clodsire core, and that's the core that I set out to try and break. I was seeing that core a lot at upper elo, and the Shadow Kanto Grimer actually does a very good job of breaking it. Here my opponent has a Ferrothorn in the back, so now we see why they couldn't really switch out. They were just triple weak to the Shadow Kanto Grimer. Now Shadow Kanto Grimer is a pure poison type. It is not poison ground. Based on the fact that it is Mud Slap and Mud Bomb, it feels like it should be, but it's not. Running non-stab moves isn't my most favorite, however, because Mud Slap is such an insanely strong move, it still ends up working out pretty nicely. Opponent is going to bring in the Azumarill, but this is where the lightning fast speed of Pangoro and the shield advantage will be clutch. I can fire off the close combat, that's going to get them deep into the red. Opponent just needs to get some damage off to force the final shield, so they will go for the Ice Beam. I'm going to be shielding everything, in comes the Clodsire, farming up quite a bit here. I should have close combated, it would have done slightly more. I thought a Night Slash would KO, but it actually doesn't. So I'm forced to throw my second move on charge attack priority. So Night Slash will pick up the knockout. Pangoro gets a boost that I did not need whatsoever. I try for a Karate Chop down, but I still have two Pokemon left alive in the back, so this game's a win. I still have the Clodsire, so I can sacrifice the Grimer and take the win. Hopping into the next match, leading Pangoro into Guzzlord. This lead not as good as one might think, purely just because look at these Dragon Tails. These Dragon Tails do an insane amount of damage. I will go for the bait because close combat would easily pick up a one-hit KO. I'm going to throw one, switch, and catch onto the Grimer, hoping that I caught a Sludge Bomb. And it is a Sludge Bomb. That is a massive catch. In comes Feraligatr. Feraligatr farming up quite a lot of energy. I will expend a shield because I know I can safely throw one and make it to a Sludge Bomb, and Sludge Bomb is going to unleash devastation onto this Feraligatr. It should just KO. Opponent is going to commit the shield. They're farming up, and that's where the unfamiliarity with movesets can catch trainers off guard. I make it to a Mud Bomb because my opponent didn't know the counts. I can pivot back into Pangoro, fire off the close combat. That's going to be goodbye to the Guzzlord. What is in the back? And in the back, it will be Toxapex. Toxapex is going to get hit with a last-second Night Slash. Night Slash not going to do a lot for me, but I have Clodsire up a shield, so this game is instantly over. Toxapex needs a shield advantage to be Clodsire, so at a shield disadvantage, they will resign the match. Tough lead in the next match, leading Pangoro into Ariados. I safe switch into the Shadow Kanto Grimer. Opponent gonna stay in to debuff me with a lunge, but they do take some damage to do so. In comes Greninja. Greninja going to be met with a Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb going to inflict some pretty nice damage as Greninja is very frail. Opponent will end up committing the shield, and again, people not knowing the counts was really throwing them off. Because at leaderboard elo, people play extremely optimized. They try and overfarm as much as possible. They play to CMP ties, but throwing something at trainers who are as good as this that they haven't seen before can really throw them off. So I will end up committing the shield because Hydro Cannon would do way too much damage. I'm looking for the farm down, but I don't get it. I don't get it. I had a feeling I wouldn't get it, but I kind of had to try. I will get a farm down, so I exit with energy. Out comes Ariados, but suddenly I realize this is okay. Two Night Slashes KO, and Ariados doesn't have a move. So now I just have a pretty healthy Pangoro. Pangoro has incredibly fast pacing. If they're weak to Pangoro in the back, they just lose, and they are. GG trainer. That's a wall rain. Even if they click Icicle Spear, Pangoro wins charge attack priority by about 30 there. Close combat annihilates the wall rain, and we don't even need a Clodsire. Good lead in the next match, Pangoro versus the Shadow Drapion. Drapion is able to outpace in this matchup as they get to the Aqua Tail in 8 turns, whereas my close combat is 10. I bait with the Night Slash, I'm able to successfully grab a shield, and I am going to let this through. The fact that they're staying in does make me worry that they could have something in the back that is good against poison, so I'm going to switch out and make a catch onto the Shadow Kanto Grimer. Opponent going to stay in this matchup, taking massive damage to bank a move. Out comes Diggersby, and this is not what I was hoping to see. The good news is I had to bait this out. This would be absolutely devastating if it got aligned against my Clodsire. Opponent, oh my goodness, they're overfarming so much energy. I'm going to fire off Mud Bomb after Mud Bomb, but they just do not care. They may have been able to get a farm down there. It looked like they would have, but again, people don't know the counts on this thing really. Here, I could have clicked Night Slash, but the issue is Night Slash doesn't KO, so that's why I didn't click it. I will shield up the Scorching Sands. That's a beautiful combo play from my opponent. That is really, really well played. And now I'm in a bit of a tricky position. I'm going to overfarm as much as I can, throwing right before they get the Aqua Tail. If they shield, they lose charge attack priority, so they know they don't have to shield. Will they send in the Diggersby here just to force my energy? The answer is yes. I will fire off the Night Slash, just looking to pick up the knockout. What do they have in the back? Diggersby is going to get KO'd. It's a Zoomeril, and unfortunately, this is a lost endgame for me. Sludge Bomb Clodsire is able to typically win the evens versus Zoomeril. That's one of the great things about running Sludge Bomb. Not only do you have the better pacing, but you're so much stronger into the grass types that normally Clodsire struggles against, and the fairies, like a Zoomeril, which Zoomeril will typically beat Clodsire if it doesn't have Sludge Bomb. But I am in the 0-1 Protect Shield scenario, which turns this from a winning matchup to a losing matchup. So unfortunately for me, not going to be able to get this win, as Pangoro, close combat, not going to KO from there. We move to the next match, Pangoro versus Shadow Alolan Sandslash. This should just automatically be a win. I have 2 extremely strong counters to this. They bring in Galar Moltres. This is not a good response to the Pangoro. They're just running a team very, very weak to it, so I fire off the close combat. This will do way too much damage. I can catch, but realistically, Brave Bird hurts my entire team. So what's more valuable for me is just staying in, saving a bunch of energy, and then if they bring in something that isn't the Sandslash, which they have to show their third, then I can just pivot out if I want to. They're going to bring out the Feraligatr. I pivot into the Grimer. Grimer doesn't have a good matchup here, but that's not really the point. I just need to reset the -2 defense drop, and then I'm just in a strictly winning position. So I can fire off the Mud Bomb bait at my opponent. I'm probably not getting to another one here as I am pretty low, so I will get farmed all the way down, but now I can bring in Pangoro. Pangoro will always win charge attack priority over Feraligatr, so I launch the close combat. Opponent is going to use the shield, and they're firing off their energy. I'm more than happy to shield because I know that I'm still healthy enough that even at -2, I should be able to get rid of them, and I win charge attack priority. Man, Pangoro is so fun to run. I'm now at -4, but look at this. I can still, the moment I saw the first Powder Snow damage, I was like, I know that I can tank 4 more of these. So I survived the 5 Powder Snows, KO the Sandslash, and again, Clodsire not even needed. Terrible lead in the next match, leading Pangoro into Machamp. Opponent is going to bank a bunch of energy and bring out the Dugong. This is another situation where the opponent wasn't really sure what they were going up against, because when you see a pure poison type as the save switch, there are no Metamons that are pure poison. So you have to take a moment, see what it is, formulate a plan, and that brief moment can actually provide an advantage. Here I'm going to overfarm, play to charge attack priority, because winning switch for me is everything. It doesn't matter what they have in the back. I have to win switch because I need to put that Machamp's energy onto Clodsire. So I'm actually going to go down a shield to win switch. My opponent, oh, this is going to be a really tough game. They bring in Frostlass. I am heavily debuffed. These Mud Bombs are going to do nothing to the Frostlass. Frostlass does not get the farm down. That's that rank 2 Shadow Kanto Grimer difference right there. I make another Mud Bomb, getting them low. In comes Pangoro. Even if my opponent catches, it's actually good for me here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait. I see the switch, and I throw anyway, because my opponent will no-shield this. But what this does is it sets me up for a Poison Sting farm down. The Frostlass should be 3 away from their next Avalanche. As long as I can farm down, and at least as long as I am within 1 of making it to the Sludge Bomb, or making it to the doubled up Sludge Bomb, then I can just win this game. So they're firing off charge move after charge move, trying to burn the clock, but I just have too much energy. I can commit to the farm down. There's the Frostlass switch in. I have the back-to-back Sludge Bombs. So my opponent just does not have a way to win this game anymore. I'm going to go for Sludge Bomb number 2. They know that I have the move, so they are going to resign the match as I click the Sludge Bomb. And despite a truly terrible lead, we're able to flip the mid-game and take the win. Hopping into the next match, Pangoro versus Talonflame. This is a terrible lead. I'm going to throw one Karate Chop, save switch out, and my opponent is going to bring in Cresselia. Cresselia, I'm very surprised to see here. Almost every Cresselia is on Grass Knot Moonblast. The fact that they switched it into a poison type, either they're extremely weak to Kanto Grimer, or they have Future Sight. If they have Future Sight, that means that my Pangoro can actually tank a move. So, since they have Future Sight, they're going to be running Future Sight Grass Knot. Everyone's running Grass Knot. There are way too many water types. Without Grass Knot, it is a really tough time going against certain Pokemon that certain water staples of the meta, like Gastrodon, Azumarill, and Feraligatr. So, since I can tank one, I can massively overfarm. In comes the Talonflame. The animation still scuffed as ever, and I get to fire off the Night Slash. Night Slash is going to land. I'm going to bluff a close combat here. Close combat would do slightly more, and it would potentially threaten a farm down. They shield, I throw one, and I defer the Incinerate. That's a very important play. That play right there, keep that in the back of your mind. I got one extra Karate Chop, but I didn't have to take any damage to do so. Talonflame throws a move. I end up committing the shield. I shield a bait, which is always a terrible feeling. And now I'm realizing they can go straight Brave Bird here. I shield. It's the Brave Bird, but they can make it to another one. And that's really not good for me. This Brave Bird is going to hurt, but I can tank it. I'm going to go for the farm down in the back. It's a Chestnut. Can I make it to another Sludge Bomb? I'm so close. I'm one off. Do I get there? I do not. They're 2 off their move, but I'm 2 off my move because of the one Karate Chop that I did earlier when I deferred it. I win charge step priority, close combat KOs, Karate Chop down the Talonflame, Core Breaker defeated, and that's a win. We get the Dream lead in the next match, leading Pangoro into Dunsparce. Opponent save switches into Superior, and now I just get to launch a close combat. This does so much damage. Close combat forces a shield. I switch out into the Clodsire. This does desync the switch timers a little bit. However, for me, I find it still to be very valuable because if the close combat lands, I can just poison this thing down with the Clodsire and have a ton of energy for the Dunsparce. So whether they shield or not, I can still leverage the situation quite nicely. Superior is going to get to land 2 Frenzy Plants, but this is why you have Clodsire on the team. I initially tried the team with a Shadow Drapion, and I believe I had a 1-4 set. It was not good at all. You really need the bulk of Clodsire just to be able to take hits. My opponent can never roll out down here, which is really nice. They are just, I mean, you are never roll out downing a Claude. It's just not going to happen. They're forced to go for a move. They go for a Rock Slide to cover for a potential catch. I'm just going to bring in Pangoro. I get 1 turn lag there, so I actually get denied, which is really unfortunate. They go for the Drill Run, and in my heart of hearts, as soon as I click this move, I knew it didn't KO. And if it doesn't KO, I shouldn't click the move there. Opponent is going to switch out. It's Toxapex in the back, and this game's over. That's one other thing that I really like about the Shadow Kanto Grimer. It so thoroughly cooks Toxapex. Toxapex, they can go for a Brine. It doesn't matter. I don't care. The Shadow Kanto Grimer is not bulky, but Brine is a deeply terrible move, and Toxapex has almost no attack stat. So, I'm going to get to fire off this Mud Bomb, put them very, very low, 1 more Mud Slap, picks up the KO, opponent sees the writing on the wall, and concedes the match. Great lead in the next match, Pangoro versus Chestnut. Opponent switches out into the Shadow Drapion. Shadow Drapion going to fire off the Aqua Tail before I make it to the close combat. Aqua Tail is going to connect. I'm going to look to farm up quite a bit of energy because I do want some residual for later, and then I can full send the close combat. They're going to no shield. That just KOs. And here I do make a miss switch. I should have gone into the Grimer because the Grimer's Mud Slaps would have deleted this, but when I saw fire, initially I just panicked, to be honest. I made the wrong swap. I could have brought in my hard counter. The good news is I win the game either way, but it would have been cleaner if I went into the Grimer because obviously the Mud Slaps would have deleted it. And again, here's where even though Sludge Bomb is neutral and Rock Slide is super effective, the better pacing on Sludge Bomb is just so nice. Especially for this team where my lead is so weak to Azumarill, I need Sludge Bomb on Clodsire. I always let that go. In comes Chestnut, and what's Chestnut gonna do against the Grimer? they just can't do anything. I get to fire off the Sludge Bomb, one hit KO, in comes Typhlosion, and the opponent will concede the match. We move to the next match, Pangoro versus Shadow Kanto Marowak. This is a very bad lead. The Mud Slappers in general are very difficult for this team for the sole reason that I don't have a Mud Slap resist, and my backline is weak to Mud Slap. Pangoro can win the 2s versus the Shadow Kanto Marowak if you're able to get a double bait, but that typically leaves your Panda extremely low, which is not an ideal spot. I'm going to go for another Night Slash bait. Even if this lands, it's still valuable damage. Opponent will shield. And now I get to commit a shield and make it to the close combat. Here what I should do is throw 2 and the move, because my opponent, even though they'll get to sneak a Mud Slap, it won't register because I will get the knockout. But now I have no energy. They bring in Dugong, as Dugong is the most common pairing with any of the Mud Slappers like Shadow Kanto Marowak. And I'm forced to just switch out into the Clodsire because Clodsire can absorb a hit. Icy Wind is going to land. I'm going to be able to fire off an Earthquake. But since I have no residual energy on the Pangoro, this game could get very tricky. My opponent is farming up quite a bit. I fire off the Sludge Bomb just to get a move off. So the Sludge Bomb is going to connect. Opponent is going to switch out into the Dunsparce. My switch clock, there it was up. I definitely should have just saved this energy and switched out into the Shadow Kanto Grimer, but at this point, I've just lost. The opponent was very, very weak to Pangoro, but what they've done is save energy on the Dugong and overfarm on the Dunsparce, so I can never bring in Pangoro. My one win con is this. If this Mud Bomb KOs, I win this game. Mud Bomb just doesn't KO. And that is unfortunately the difference between not having same type attack bonus and having same type attack bonus there. I try and snipe with the Karate Chop, but they have the move. So a team that was really weak to Pangoro, unfortunately I can't win because all of their Pokemon had access to super effective ground coverage against my back 2 Mons. Hopping into the final match, oh no, it's the same lead as before. Pangoro versus the Shadow Kanto Marowak. But the opponent is going to switch out into a Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz going to get hit with a close combat. Close combat doing substantial damage. I bank the move and bring in Clodsire. Clodsire now going to get to absorb hit after hit from the Mandibuzz. I've saved energy on the Pangoro, and that's ideally how you want to try and play Pangoro. Pangoro, if you can get up energy, is terrifying to deal with. It is a little bit like Machamp in that it is very rewarding if you're good with energy management. If you get down energy, it's going to struggle quite a bit. But up energy, it's extremely, extremely rewarding. And it can, as we've seen a couple times, just completely take over games. Dark Pulse is going to land. Opponent brings in the Marowak, and I get to fire off the correct move of Earthquake. Earthquake will not KO. I don't want to get farmed down, so I aggressively switch back into Pangoro. They have a Bone Club ready and waiting, so I shield. I think I can Karate Chop down. It's going to be close, and I do get that farm down. I now have so much energy. They have one of the few things in the game that can actually deal with Pangoro's energy, as out comes Toxapex. Toxapex, a poison type. It resists close combat, but look at the amount of work Pangoro's about to put in here. Pangoro gets to fire off close combat number 1 and close combat number 2. And this is a bulky Pokemon. It resists fighting. They're forced to give up a shield. I can just bring in the Grimer, and Grimer just cleans up Toxapex so effortlessly. They will fire off the Brine. That does nothing. In comes the Mandibuzz. And to add a little insult to injury, we're going for the back-breaking catch onto the Clodsire. Opponent will undercharge. I get a farm down. They're hoping for whatever energy they can get on the Toxapex, but there was never any chance of beating the Grimer, and the opponent will concede the match. All in all, I do think that Shadow Kanto Grimer proved to be an interesting wild card on the team. Would I recommend building it? I would say personally no. I do think it has some very nice play in the current meta, but it did cost about 2/3 in terms of Stardust, like 660,000 to power up plus double move. And I can't in good conscience recommend that for an anti-Metamon, so I don't think I necessarily recommend building it personally. However, I did have a lot of fun with it. I do think that secretly the star of the show was Pangoro. A lot of teams were just disrespecting Pangoro as a Pokemon, and it was able to just completely shred through some teams without even having to use the Clodsire, and even in situations where it wasn't necessarily in a type advantage, close combat with that attack stat is just wild. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.